Today's video is a bit different, just a bit different. So today's video is about radium and dials on watches from the early 1900s. So what is radium? Radium's a chemical element. I'm reading here. Radium's a chemical element with the symbol Ra, an atomic number of 88. It is the sixth element in group 2 of the periodic table, if you remember that table from high school, I think. Also known as the alkaline earth metals. Now I'm going to cough. It's not COVID. Maybe it is. Let me just throw that away here. Gone. So pure radium is silvery white, but it readily reacts with nitrogen rather than oxygen on exposure to air, forming a black surface layer of radium nitrate. Ra3 and 2 for you chemical engineers out there. All the isotopes of radium are highly radioactive, with the most stable isotope being radium-226. You may have heard of that, and it's got a half-life of 1,600 years, and it decays into radium gas, which is specifically isotope radium-222. So when radium decays, ionizing radium is a product which can excite fluorescent chemicals causing radioluminescence. And there you go. So I'm going to go look up this radium stuff for a second and figure out who figured out how to put lume with radium on a dial. So without blaming anybody, the reason I got kind of interested in this is I figured I had a couple of radium painted dials on my pocket watches, and I was curious whether they were actually exposing me to anything dangerous. So this luminescent paint, I'm going to read some more again over there. This is my other screen I'm reading on, so so you don't have to read. So radium formerly used in self-luminous paints for watches, nuclear panels, aircraft switches, clocks, and instrument dials. A typical self-luminous watch that uses radium paint contains about 1 microgram of radium. In the mid-1920s, a lawsuit was filed against the United States Radium Corporation. A lawsuit filed against the United States Radium Corporation. Radium can also cause you to repeat sentences, by the way, by 5 dying radium girls, and they were dial painters who painted the radium-based luminescent paint with the dials of watches and clocks. And the dial painters were instructed to lick their brushes to give them a finer point, thereby ingesting the radium. And they were actually another morning cough. They were exposed to the radium, causing serious health effects, which included sores, bone cancer, anemia, and other things. This is because the body treats radium as a calcium, and it deposits it in the bones, where radioactivity degrades marrow and can mutate bone cells. Not good. So I saw a YouTube video on the Radium Girls. It's around a 20-minute video, and it's very, very good. It really shows you what happened back then. And honestly, they probably initially thought this stuff was great, as it was so nice to produce these dials that you could see at night. The military thought it was an exceptional advantage to have watches that you could see at night. I was in the military, and I'm sure lots of stuff I had glowed in the dark, but obviously not a healthy thing to have. Anyway, so another thing these radium girls used to do is they'd get their really, really expensive dresses on, go to the plant in the morning, and then by the time the end of the day came, their dresses were glowing from the radium dust, and they thought that was really nice. And radium was also added to soaps and water and all kinds of things because they thought it was healthy for you. Now, I'm not sure why they thought it was healthy, but marketing and advertising and sales and all those guys probably thought, hey, this is really an advantage. What else can we put radium in, right? So the luminous watch dials, hands, etc. were used by many watchmaking companies in the past, and they were making these small watches. I got some here. They stopped using it. It was banned in 1960. So they were doing this in the 20s, right? And this thing was banned in 1960. So it took an awful long time for them to ban this substance for use, and it killed off quite a few people. There is a full movie called Radium Girls that you can buy on YouTube, I think. So anyway, dangerous substance, not recommended to be near. So I was curious whether my watches, I got a lot of pocket watches, and I was curious whether some of these old watches had radium in them. So what I've done here is I've got 3 watches. This one here is an old, I believe this is an old Waltham pocket watch. I'm going to do a close-up on this later on. And I've got a Scout watch from the 20s probably, and it looks like it had radium on it because it's got a dark dial and a light numbers. And this here is a, what is it? I'll look at the number when I get my watch thing on, but it's another pocket watch that might have radium on it. I spent a few bucks here and bought myself a GMC 320 Geiger counter. Again, I'll do a close-up on that because the lighting's really crappy. Not bad for me and you, but really shitty to show objects. So this is a Geiger counter, and I'm going to do a close-up on that Geiger counter in a second. So what I'm going to do is count or test the radium content, or how much alpha, beta, and maybe gamma rays are coming off this here. I'm absolutely not an expert in radium. There is a military paper written on radium. I probably should have read it first, but this isn't about understanding isotopes and radium and blah blah blah. It's just trying to see whether these watches could be considered dangerous or not. There's a nuclear radiation safety guide, and counts per minute is what I'll be using, and the range, and there's micrograms per hour and something blah 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 volume per hour. This is getting really specific about the technology also. I'll have to look these things up again to see what they are. I'm just jumping right into it, but I'll just look up the count to see counts per minute, just to simplify the whole thing. And there's a card that this came with that'll provide that. So let's get a close-up on the card and some other things. This is my GMC 320 nuclear radiation detector. Nuclear radiation detector, and it's by this. It's a Geiger counter. It says Geiger Mueller counter, right? And it's a data logger as well. This one has Wi-Fi. I've yet to set up, so it's got a Wi-Fi that you're able to download a program and collect the data. I've got the basic setup happening here, so all I really have to do is turn this on. I think it's in counts per minute already, so I'm not going to go through a review of this GMC 320, but it's pretty cool. It's by a company called GQ, and it's not Gentleman's Quarterly, although, you know, if you're highly radiant, you probably should be in Gentleman's Quarterly. And it says nuclear radiation detector, so this is like a pocket version. There's my hand here, so it's pretty small. It's about the size of an iPhone, but a little thicker. And the tube that detects it is on the bottom left-hand side. So if you're putting it over an object, you focus on the bottom left-hand side if you've got to get close to determine whether there's any radiation. Now the radiation, the nuclear radiation safety guide, this is what it comes with, and this says that basically a count per minute between 5 and 50, right, is normal background, no action needed. Between 51 and 99 is a medium level, and it says check the reading regularly. So if it's bumping up below 100, greater than 100, right, is a high level, and it says closely watch the reading and find out why. Above 1,000 is highly, very high. Leave the area ASAP and find out why. And if it's above 2,000, it's extremely high, and there's a risk of immediate health problems. Report it to government, and you could possibly turn into the Incredible Hulk. So this could cause you to turn into the Incredible Hulk if you're absorbing gamma radiation, I think is what the Incredible Hulk used to absorb. So you want big biceps and a huge back. You can hang out near this zone here. So, but in all seriousness, anything above green you should check out. especially if it's just in the air, if you're not pointing it directly at an object, and you're just turning it on in a location, and all of a sudden it's in this range. Especially if it's above 100 and you're just sort of walking into a room or something and it's reading like that, then that's different. So, but when you're getting close to an object, like a pocket watch painted with radium, then then as you get further away from that object, there's less detection of the release of these of radioactive isotopes. I think you guys can correct me again. This is an old pocket watch, and I'll test this one first, and you'll see that there's probably no problem with the old pocket watch. There's a quick start guide that this comes with. I've of course got it upside down for you people out there that can read upside down. This is a quick start guide for the various models. I've got the GMC 320 version 5. I had the GMC 320 and I had a problem with the display wasn't actually working on it, so I'm returning that. And I've got the version 5, and there's some instruction units here on the set the thing up, and key functions and stuff like. Why do I keep putting this backwards? Anyway, key functions and stuff like that. And let me just, there you go. Power up the unit, hold the S4 key, 3 seconds, blah blah, yada yada yada. There are the instructions. And if you want to connect, then you got to download the USB driver. It's kind of an old school thing, even though this thing is fairly new. And then it just has an explanation of what the buttons are for, and how to do the demo software. I love these companies that they build software, and because they're not sure if there's any bugs in it, they'll call it beta or demo, and that way if there's bugs in it, they go, well, hey, it's just the demo software. So the real software is coming. The real software is coming. So I think if they had the GMC Binford 1000 Plus, that could detect whether your wife is mad at you or not any day, I would have this thing around my hip all the time. That way, when I give her a response to a question, I don't trigger an anger response in direct relationship to this. So it would give me probably 3,000 counts per minute of anger management. Although my wife is very, very understanding and completely supportive, just in case she watches this video. So there we go. There's the Geiger counter. So let's turn this thing on right now. And let me hit the ON button. There's the ON button, and hold it down for 3 seconds. It's the GMC 320 version 5. And I'm just going to let that sit there for a second and see what the counts per minute are. Yeah. You can see that in the video, although probably not ideally, but this thing also has it'll flip upside down because it's got a what are they called? There, it flipped upside down again on me. So 5 counts per minute, yada yada yada, yada yada yada. So I'm getting up to 9, 10. So this is just normal radiation. I'm going to make sure I don't have any pocket watches nearby that would cause it. So there you go, 120 normal radiation in the area. I do have 2 pocket watches sitting on the bench here that are a bit close. So, but I'm running under 100. I'm not between 50 and 99 right now. So now what I'll do is I will place this little beastie. I'll go to a close-up camera, and I'll place this little beastie beside the normal pocket watch and see what happens. Right, so let's just cut over here to the other stuff, the other view. All right, there's the non-guilty pocket watch here, and I'm going to slide my my GMC 320 over the top to see if I get any readings at all from this pocket watch. Right, so they move the whole thing down a bit so you can see the watch and the readings, and that's again counts per minute on a full battery. So it doesn't look like anything is recording here. It looks like we're all good on this. So even went down. So maybe this pocket watch actually sucks radiation from your, or maybe this Geiger counter sucks radiation from your watch. I doubt it though. Don't listen to that. That's stupid. So there we go. It's down to 10, the average radiation, or the radiation in the area. So 10 counts per minute. So I'm going to go grab another watch and check that out. Alright, this watch is called the Leonard Night Watch. So it's the Leonard Night Watch, and as you can see from this watch, these dials are painted, but are they painted in radium or not? So there's paint coming off of this one here, and there's paint coming off of this one here, and it seems like the dial's black because it's called the Leonard Night Watch. So, and I suspect there's paint in here, and I suspect all this paint is radium based paint on this Leonard Night Watch. So let's check that out and see what's happening. There, move the Leonard Night Watch down. The counter's at 17 right now, but let's move that in and see what happens. Alright, we're up to 54. It's not time to run for the hills yet, but it's getting close. 63, 65. Not sure if it's going to get worse. 70, 71, 74. So this is obviously painted with radium, so it's a radium painted pocket watch. Don't give it to your kids, obviously. 94. We're still climbing here. Now it's giving me a warning. It's above 100. My guide here says that it's above 100. That's a high level of radiation. So above 100 is not good. High level, closely watch reading and find out why. It's less than 1,000, so it's not very high, but it's still above 100. So it's just above 100. And I suspect if I go closer to the small dial, or I get the tube closer to where the source is, I could get that up even higher. And just dip below. So this is not going to turn me into the Incredible Hulk, but it's not recommended that that I put this watch in my pocket and wear it around. So seems like there's a sweet spot for the tube that's over on the lower left-hand side of this device, of the GMC 320. So the Binford 4000. So this one here does have radiation. It can be a high level. Although when I move this away from the watch, let's just move it away a bit. So I now have the watch is down there, and I've now got the counter a bit far away. Still pretty serious, even when it's a couple of inches. I'd say it's around 2 inches above the watch right now, and you're still getting 63, 66. So right now it's kind of in the safe level, I think. Let me look at this card again. Between 5 and 50 is safe. Between 51 and 99 is medium. So we're still even 2 inches away as a medium level. So that's good. So we've done this watch now. So that's the Leonard pocket watch. So let's see what happens now, as the radiation should drop as I move this watch away here. And it stopped ticking, and the radiation levels are dropping. So I'll wait till that drops, and then I'll start with the next pocket watch. So here we have the Scout pocket watch, most likely made by Westclock, I'm thinking, as opposed to Ingersoll. But it's dark face and luminescent dial numbers would suggest that it was good for scouting in the evening and doing adventures in the evening. So that's probably why they made this. I suspect it's Westclock, as I got this in Canada, and there was a Westclock company in Peterborough, Ontario, that made the baby Bens and the Bens, and they made clocks and dollar pocket watches. So this is a dollar pocket watch, pretty simple watch. I believe this one still works. And we're going to do the counts on this and see what it looks like, and see if there's any radiation coming out of this at all. Alright, the counts per minute are going up because I had it over the watch a bit, but it's sitting right over the dial there. And let's see what this reads. getting some serious Geiger counter action here. Noise, whatever you want to call it. So up to 91, 92. I need to cough and then have another drink of coffee. Yeah, that's why they call it coffee, because you cough. 117, not good. We're above the 99 level. So we're above 100 right now. And there's the card, as you can see. High level, closely watch reading and find out why. So we're at, it's dropping down a little bit, but floating at 123. Let's see if I can get any further action on this thing depending on where I put it. There we go. I got some further action, 134. So this is definitely not a safe watch. Again, when these watches were made with this radium dials, radium luminescent numbers, the intent probably initially was good, but the company was not doing the right thing, because once they found out that radium was poisonous and dangerous, they didn't remove it from the market immediately. They allowed the radium girls to keep dipping their, the paintbrush on their tongue in order to get a sharp point on the paintbrush to paint the dials. And these were hundreds of women that were involved in this. So the health and safety back in the 20s and 30s wasn't that great anyway, but this was really bad. This dial was painted more than likely by one of these folks that was doing this. So, because this was the way that they used to paint the dials back then. So I got it up to 180. I think earlier I had measured this one here, and it got up to 200. So, which is not good. It's definitely a radioactive pocket watch. So it just depends on how close you put the source to the tube when you're measuring it. So there you go. So that's the and the half-life is millions of years. It's not like this thing will decay. So the danger here in this is that you have a pocket watch that you're cleaning. I'm not sure why it's dropping again. It just depends again on how close you put this to the tube. So if I move this around, put it on the end maybe, and the counts go up, move it over there, counts go down, move it over here, twist that around so that the second hands, I'm not sure if the second hands have radium on them or not, so it's kind of odd. Anyway, that was the count on this. Move it over here, there we go, and I'm getting bigger numbers now, so it's dropping right now. Anyway, you saw this go up to 130. Let's move that out of the way and let it drop. So that's this particular watch, not good. Back in the day, they would have this in their pocket and they'd have it next to their reproduction organs, so to speak. And I suspect that if you wore this thing for 10 years and it's giving off radiation, it's mutating your cells, and chances are you're not going to have any kids. So that is an issue. As well, these if you're repairing one of these pocket watches, I don't want to handle them too much here, but let me grab the pocket watch here. If you're repairing one of these pocket watches and you're taking the dial or the face off the watch or whatever, and you're doing any work at all, these chips that are radium paint are in that dial right now. So if this dials or front glass, whatever this is, pocket watch plastic has been removed while you're maintaining it, there's dust, there's fine particles of radium paint, and that could get in your lungs, and if that gets in your lungs, it's in your lungs. That's not going anywhere. They were saying that when these radium girls were working in these factories, they ingested 80% of the radium paint, and the other the other percentage of radium paint pass through their system. So I think the numbers actually were 80% pass through and 20% stayed in their system. And that's also not good. It caused all sorts of deformations and stuff. Again, go on YouTube. There's guys that are actually reviewing this GMC 320 Geiger counter with detail and the menus and everything else. But the point I'm making here is that these pocket watches are dangerous. So they need to be stored in a location where they're not going to be, you know, near people or whatever. So, and again, I'm not sure whether this other pocket watch, the Scout here, which seems like it has more radium paint on it, or it's fresher or something, causes a greater number as it's ticking up here. Whether I hold that 2 inches away from the pocket watch, the Geiger counter, is it still going to climb? So if I just raise this up a bit like that, and I'll just put it right there, is that going to still climb up? So just how far does this radiation go? Again, there's math on all this, and there's, you know, it'll basically tell you that you know, the safety and distance and all that stuff. So again, I'm an electrical engineer. I'm not a specialist in any radiation stuff. Just what I've picked up on the internet recently, right? Mr. Internet. So right now I'm around 2 inches away from the face of the watch. It's below 100, but it's still up there. So there is radiation. Before I was running around 20, I think, on average with this general radiation in the air. So here it's 86 at 2 inches away. So still issues, right? And 89 and 88, and if I move it around, am I going to get more radiation? Don't know. 79, move it this way. I know the tube is I think the tube is on the circuit board in the bottom left. So there you go, 78. So that's 2 inches away. This is about an inch away right now, and that'll pop up probably above 100 at an inch away. And again, if this is next to your skin, there's going to be issues. So that's that. This is a pretty cool Geiger counter. Again, like I said, it also, if you flip it like this, it flips around. So I'm not sure what that's called, but it's a little chip in there of some sort that knows it's upside down. And it's got menus and everything else, and you can basically set some stuff here and do the micro whatevers per hour, 0.31 whatever. So you can, if you're a radiation specialist, you're going to be looking at that number probably, but it's equivalent to the count number. So let me just turn this off right now, power off, and move that aside. So that was around it's about 120 bucks US on eBay, or on you can go to Amazon for that. So there's the nuclear radiation safety guide, and there's a GQ Electronics Limited Liability Corporation LLC, Seattle, Washington. And you've got, again, normal is between 5 and 50. We're reading around 20, I think, normal. 51 and 99 was medium, and we were way above that. And then I reached 230 with that Scout pocket watch, which is not too good. The other one was a lot lower because the paint is kind of probably down there in the bottom of the watch, right? So this one here was not as bad, but this one here is basically radioactive. So that's a radioactive pocket watch. Not recommended to do any servicing on that watch. So if you get one of these dollar watches, you may want to acquire a GMC 320 Geiger counter if it looks like it might have radioactive paint on it. I wouldn't recommend going near it. I'd store it somewhere, or just toss the thing in the lake. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. The fish will die. So just get rid of it, or just store it somewhere where it's away from people. I think if it's 2 to 3 inches away from yourself or anything, right, it's not going to cause an issue. So it's not as bad. So it's so there we go. There's the GMC 320 that I just had a look at. Again, I'm not going to do a review of this because there's too many reviews online of this nuclear radiation detector. It's got a little strap on it in case you need to walk around with that. Like I said earlier, if you can detect whether my wife is mad at me or not, all the better. I should design something like that. I think they were called mood rings back in the 70s when we had people would wear these rings that were mood rings, and if you're warm, you're in a good mood, I guess, and if you're cold, you're in a bad mood. Well, I'm always cold in the house, so I guess I'm always in a bad mood. So again, in summary, your normal pocket watch doesn't have any of this radium paint on it, but these pocket bends were painted that way. You can check out some clocks in your house as well. Another thing to do is go to an antique store and take this thing with you and look at these antiques and see whether there's any radium paint on the antiques. Anyway, if you got a watch from the 20s and 30s, potential radium paint, or if you've got, like I said before, I just distracted myself. If you're in your basement and you're looking at your grandparents' stuff, this is good because it'll tell you whether there's any radioactivity coming from that article. And again, walk through an antique store and test that. There's a guy online that was testing a glass bowl that had some green paint in it, and sure enough, it was radiating like crazy. And it just depends on the amount of paint they use. And these little pocket watches, I'm not going to put that close to my face. I'm ugly enough as it is. So these little pocket watches didn't really have a lot of paint on them, but you just saw how radioactive these things are. So not good. Anyway, they're alpha and beta, I guess, waves. I'm not sure if there's a gamma in there, probably. But again, that's, I think, what the Incredible Hulk had going on. So that's my video today on radium, on these pocket watches and the radium paint. I hope you enjoyed it. Try to make it as entertaining as possible, but how can you make radioactivity entertaining? I'm not sure how you make radioactivity entertaining. But I'm sure if you have a great personality and you have a wonderful glow, you're probably not radioactive. I'd say you're not. I just think you have a wonderful glow and you have a great personality. So thanks for watching this video. It's not a watch repair video like I normally put on, but it is about pocket watches and about radium. And I'm a curious George, so I had to get myself one of them there nuclear radiation detectors there by. So that's a Newfoundland accent by. Boy to Jesus, you got one of those nuclear radiation detectors there to tell whether the old gamma rays is turning me into the Hulk by. Anyway, lots of fun, and I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.